Morning light spread softly across the lunar horizon. The great domes of Lunar Outpost 12 shone like pearls against the gray surface. It was a calm and quiet start to the day. The air inside the dome was cool and still, filled with the faint hum of generators that powered every system in the colony. Commander Rian had been away for 6 weeks on a classified inspection mission near the dark side of the moon. His shuttle returned without fanfare, gliding down the landing path and slowing with perfect control. He was not a man who liked attention. He believed in discipline, order, and the quiet pride of work done well. When his shuttle came to rest, it stopped at the private access road that led directly to his quarters. The commander stepped out of the hatch, wearing his gray flight jacket and carrying a single pack over his shoulder. The smooth helmet glass reflected the distant earth, blue and white in the sky. Ryan looked around with a small sense of comfort. The base felt familiar again. Every sound, every step, every faint vibration beneath his boots reminded him that humans had turned this lifeless world into a working home. He smiled, feeling that small pride that humans alone could feel after bending nature to will through patience and effort. He parked the shuttle where he always did, right beside the main walkway of his quarters. It was a space only the commander used, but a new fence line had been added while he was away. He noticed it but thought little of it. He simply wanted a quiet morning before returning to duty. Inside his quarters, the air smelled faintly of recycled lavender. He dropped his pack, removed his gloves, and poured himself a glass of water from the purifier. It tasted like home. He looked through the window at the gray plains and thought about how humans had grown from sailors on the oceans to explorers among the stars. Across the dome, a new arrival was starting her day as well. Karen, a logistics officer recently assigned to the base, was checking supply manifests on her tablet. She was dedicated and serious about her job. Her short hair was tied back neatly and her uniform was spotless. She had joined the lunar team only 3 days earlier, and she wanted to prove herself as capable. Karen's duty was to supervise ground access near the supply depot, which was located near the commander's private housing section. She had never met Commander Rian in person, though she had heard of him as a strict but fair leader. As she looked through the window of the depot office, she noticed something unusual. A transport shuttle was parked directly in front of the narrow drive that led to the supply gate. It blocked the entrance completely. Karen frowned. The supply trucks were scheduled to move soon, and if one was blocked, it could delay deliveries. She zoomed in on the feed from the exterior camera and saw the ship. It had no active beacon, no identification tag showing who it belonged to. The system showed it as an unregistered personal craft. Her brow tightened. Base regulations were very clear about unauthorized landings near restricted housing areas. She checked the logs again, but the ship was not listed in the schedule. That meant a rule had been broken. Karen believed in following every rule exactly. She had built her reputation on being precise and reliable. She pressed the communication button and called the security line. "This is Officer Karen from Logistics. I have a situation near the supply depot entrance. There is an unregistered shuttle parked across the drive. It is blocking vehicle movement," she said. The voice on the other end sounded calm. "Can you identify the pilot?" Karen looked at the screen again. "No, the pilot is not in view. The craft appears empty. There is no beacon code visible." The security officer hesitated. "Understood. We will send a patrol unit to check it out. Please stay at your station." Karen nodded, feeling proud of her quick report. She wanted to make a good impression. She believed she was protecting the order of the base. Inside his quarters, Ryan was reading his mission notes when his communicator lit up with a small message. It was an automatic notice from the control tower. "Base report. Unauthorized landing reported near supply sector. Investigation in progress." He raised an eyebrow. The coordinates matched his own shuttle location. For a moment he wondered if it was a computer error, but then he smiled faintly. He realized that someone must have reported him for parking in his own driveway. Instead of correcting the mistake immediately, he leaned back in his chair. He had spent years in command, and he knew that mistakes often revealed how people thought and acted under pressure. He decided to let the situation unfold. Outside, 2 security patrol officers approached the area in a rover. Their vehicle left small tracks on the dusty surface. They stopped near the shuttle and scanned its surface with their wrist units. The system confirmed that the craft was registered under Commander Rian's personal authorization code. Both officers looked at each other, sharing the same thought. "This must be the commander's ship," one said quietly. "Should we report that to the officer who called it in?" asked the other. "Let us wait," said the first with a small grin. "Let us see what happens when she finds out." Meanwhile, Karen was pacing near the depot door. Her mind raced with thoughts about rules and safety. She felt it was strange that no one had removed the ship yet. Her impatience grew. She opened the channel again. "Security, has the pilot been located?" A calm voice replied. "We are still confirming identification. Please remain where you are." Karen sighed and crossed her arms. "If we allow people to park wherever they want, the whole base will become disorganized," she muttered to herself. This is a professional facility, not a public lot. She decided to go to the site herself. She wanted to document the violation properly. She put on her light helmet and stepped through the airlock into the short transport tunnel that led outside. The low gravity made her steps light. When she reached the area, the 2 patrol officers were already there, standing beside the shuttle. They greeted her with polite nods. "I am Officer Karen from Logistics," she said firmly. "This craft is blocking access to the supply depot." "Has the pilot been identified?" The officers looked at each other again, struggling to hide their amusement. "We are still checking, ma'am," said one. Karen took out her tablet and began taking photos. "I will be filing an official report. This kind of behavior is not acceptable on a controlled base." "Yes, ma'am," replied the officer with a small smile. As Karen circled the shuttle, she saw that it was clean and well-maintained. She wondered who would own such a craft. It looked like it had seen long travel. She leaned close to read a small plate near the hatch, but the text was covered by dust. Inside the nearby building, Ryan watched through the window. He could see the group standing around his ship. He recognized Karen by her badge and posture. She looked serious and determined, not the type to back down easily. He chuckled softly to himself. He admired her confidence, even if it was slightly misplaced. He wondered how far she would take the matter. After finishing her documentation, Karen turned to the patrol officers again. "Since the craft is unregistered and blocking access, I recommend towing it to the maintenance bay. Please arrange the tow immediately." The first officer almost laughed but held his composure. "Ma'am, we might need higher clearance for that," he said carefully. Karen frowned. "Then call for it. Rules are rules." At that very moment, Ryan received a new message on his communicator. "Commander, do you wish to cancel the incident report? It appears to concern your own craft." He tapped a short reply. "Not yet. Proceed as usual." He decided to walk over. He adjusted his jacket, stepped outside, and moved toward the small group. None of them noticed him at first. Karen was pointing at the shuttle when a calm voice spoke behind her. "Is there a problem here?" She turned quickly and saw a tall man standing in front of her. His uniform was simple, but there was an unmistakable authority in his stance. His eyes were sharp yet calm. "This area is under investigation," she said formally. "An unauthorized shuttle is blocking the supply drive." Ryan nodded slowly. "I see, and what is your position, officer?" "Logistics Officer Karen, sir. I am responsible for maintaining access to the supply depot." Ryan looked at her with quiet interest. "That is a very important job. I appreciate that you take it seriously." Karen straightened. "Thank you, sir. I am only doing my duty." He stepped closer to the shuttle and placed his hand on its hull. "And if I told you that this shuttle belonged to the commander of the base, what would you do?" Karen hesitated for the first time. "If that were true, I would still have to report the violation, sir." "No one is above procedure." Ryan smiled gently. "Good answer." Before she could reply, one of the patrol officers finally spoke. "Commander Ryan, sir, should we close the case?" Karen's eyes widened. "Commander Ryan?" she repeated softly, realizing the truth. Ryan turned toward her, still calm. "Yes, officer. That would be me." Silence filled the space for a long moment. The only sound was the faint hum of the shuttle's cooling system. Karen's face turned pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The patrol officers stood very still, pretending not to notice her embarrassment. Ryan finally said, "You did your job well. You saw something that looked wrong and took action. That is what I want from every member of this base. You just happened to be right and wrong at the same time." Karen lowered her gaze. "I apologize, sir. I did not know." The day had only just begun, but Lunar Outpost 12 was already humming with quiet activity. Inside the main command deck, Rows of consoles flickered with soft lights. Engineers monitored life support systems, communications, and supply tracking feeds. The hum of machinery was a constant reminder that human presence had transformed this harsh lunar landscape into a functioning base. Commander Rian had returned to the command deck after dealing with the small incident at his shuttle. Even though it was resolved without trouble, he wanted to make sure everything was in order before resuming his daily duties. The base was larger than he remembered. New modules for research, storage, and living quarters had been added while he was away, showing the constant growth and adaptability of humans. At the edge of the deck, Karen sat at her workstation, still a little shaken from the encounter with the commander. She typed up the report she had started outside. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic keys, entering every detail with precision. She noted the time of the initial sighting, the location of the shuttle, the patrol response, and her own actions. She was careful to use formal language, knowing that this record might be reviewed by senior officers. Karen paused for a moment. She felt conflicted. Reporting the commander was proper procedure, but she had never imagined that she would actually do it. Her thoughts raced as she wondered how this might affect her future on the base. She wanted to demonstrate her commitment to rules, yet she worried about making a mistake that would mark her as inexperienced. At that moment, the communicator at her desk buzzed with a message. "Officer Karen, do you have a moment to speak with Control Center?" Karen answered promptly. "Yes, this is Officer Karen," a calm voice replied. "We have received your report regarding the shuttle blocking the supply drive. Please confirm if the situation has been resolved." Karen cleared her throat. "Yes, the shuttle belongs to the base commander. The situation is resolved, but the report is still valid as an observation of the incident." The control center paused briefly before responding. "Understood. Thank you for your diligence. We will file it accordingly." Karen hung up and took a deep breath. She leaned back in her chair and stared out of the window at the gray lunar surface. The bright sunlight reflected off the metal of the nearby structures. She had learned something important that morning. Rules were not just about following instructions. They were about judgment, awareness, and knowing when to act. Meanwhile, Commander Rian moved to his office within the command deck. He opened a small private channel to the Chief of Security, Lieutenant Varro. "Varro, I saw the incident report," Rian said. "The logistics officer called in a violation against my shuttle. Did you review the matter?" Varro's voice came quickly. "Yes, Commander. The officer did exactly as protocol requires. She documented everything clearly, including timestamps, location coordinates, and patrol response. She acted professionally." Rian smiled softly. "Good, keep an eye on her. I want her development monitored. It is a rare combination of diligence and initiative. I would like to see how she handles challenges over the next few weeks." "Yes, Commander," Varro said, a hint of respect in his tone. "I will keep a report and provide updates." After the conversation, Ryan returned to the observation window overlooking the landing pads. He watched the small dust plumes left by rovers and personnel moving between modules. Even in these simple motions, he felt the pulse of human achievement. Humans had come from Earth to live on a world that was empty and lifeless. They had adapted, built, and grown in ways that no other species could manage so quickly. Karen's thoughts were still racing. She had returned to her station after the initial incident, but she could not stop thinking about what had happened. She kept replaying the moment she first saw the shuttle and the surprise on her own face when the commander revealed himself. She wondered if he had been upset, but she remembered his calm words and gentle tone. It struck her that this man, the base commander, had the patience to turn what could have been a tense situation into a learning moment. She typed additional notes into her report, emphasizing the importance of double-checking identification before filing a report. Even though her original instincts were correct, she realized that situations on the base often required awareness beyond simple observation. The intercom buzzed again. This time it was the security officer who had been at the shuttle. "Officer Karen, Commander Ryan has requested that you meet him in the briefing room. He would like to discuss the incident and your work here," the voice said. Karen straightened in her chair, a mixture of excitement and nervousness washing over her. She quickly reviewed her notes and made sure everything was in order. Her tablet was clean, her logs accurate, and her mind focused. She wanted to show that she could handle responsibility without faltering. When she arrived at the briefing room, the commander was already seated at the head of the table. The room was simple but functional. Holographic displays floated in midair, showing supply lines, personnel assignments, and communications networks. The large windows looked out onto the lunar plains where the faint tracks of rovers crisscrossed the dusty surface. "Officer Karen," Ryan said, his tone calm but commanding. "Thank you for coming," Karen nodded. "Thank you, sir. I am here to provide any information you need." Ryan gestured to the empty chair opposite him. "Please sit. I want to talk about your observations this morning and how you handled the situation at the shuttle." Karen sat carefully, her hands resting on the tablet. She felt a little tense but determined to show confidence. "You followed protocol precisely," Ryan said. "You observed, reported, and documented. That is the correct procedure. I am pleased with your professionalism. However," he continued, "there is always more to understand than what is immediately visible. You learned something today without realizing it." Karen listened intently. "Sir?" Ryan leaned back. "Even the most careful officer can misjudge a situation if information is incomplete. You reported the shuttle without confirming identification, which is normally correct. But in this case, the pilot was the commander himself. This does not make your actions wrong. It highlights the importance of combining diligence with awareness and context." Karen absorbed this. She realized he was teaching her to think beyond rules. She nodded slowly. "I understand, sir. I will be more aware in the future." "Good," Ryan said. "Your commitment to procedure is admirable. The base needs officers like you. You act with integrity, and integrity is the foundation of everything we do here. The most advanced systems, the largest domes, and the safest vehicles mean nothing without people who respect the rules and each other." Karen felt a sense of pride mixed with humility. She had always been a rule follower, but she had never realized that leadership also required judgment and understanding of human behavior. Ryan activated one of the holographic displays. "I want to give you a small exercise. Monitor the incoming supply schedules over the next week. Pay attention to timing, vehicle conditions, and coordination with other teams. Report any irregularities, but also consider context. Learn to balance strict adherence to procedure with thoughtful judgment." Karen nodded. "Yes, sir. I will do my best." "Excellent," Ryan said. "You will have my full support. Remember, making mistakes is not the issue. Not learning from them is." The briefing concluded and Karen returned to her station, feeling energized and motivated. She reviewed the incoming manifests and schedules, noticing patterns she had never considered before. Even a small delay in supply or a minor mismatch in personnel timing could ripple through the base if left uncorrected. She began making notes, comparing vehicle rotations, crew schedules, and landing pad availability. Over the next few hours, she noticed that even simple systems had hidden layers. A small miscommunication could slow a supply rover by hours. A delayed arrival of a maintenance team could affect the entire sequence of lunar operations. She understood then why the commander's calm demeanor had been so important. Leadership required patience, awareness, and the ability to see beyond the obvious. Meanwhile, Ryan observed the base from his office. He watched personnel move with precision across the surface. He noted how humans worked together to solve problems, combining skill, experience, and creativity. In his mind, he reflected on the uniqueness of humans as a species. No matter the challenge, they adapted and persisted. He smiled faintly as he thought about the incident with Karen. Even small events could reveal human potential. A simple report on a blocked driveway had turned into an opportunity to teach, guide, and understand a promising officer. By late afternoon, Karen's observations had already produced several suggestions for minor improvements in supply coordination. She submitted her notes to the control center. Each entry was careful, detailed, and thoughtful. She felt a growing sense of competence. She realized that following procedure and thinking critically were not opposites. They were two sides of the same coin, and both were necessary to ensure the success of a human outpost on the moon. As the lunar sun began to sink toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the gray plains, Ryan looked out at the base again. He knew that even in quiet moments, humans continued to achieve extraordinary things. The very existence of Lunar Outpost 12 was proof. The next morning on Lunar Outpost 12, the air inside the dome was bright with sunlight reflecting off the lunar surface. Humans moved purposefully through corridors carrying tools, data pads, and supply containers. The base hummed with activity. Though the incident with the shuttle had already been resolved, the story of the unexpected report had spread quietly among the staff. Whispers of a logistics officer reporting the commander made rounds in hushed tones, and a few smiled privately, imagining the situation. Karen arrived early at her workstation. The previous day's lesson had stayed with her. She had spent the evening reviewing procedures, supply schedules, and patrol routines. She wanted to make sure she could respond to any situation with both careful observation and thoughtful judgment. Even though she felt embarrassed about reporting Commander Rian, she understood that her intentions had been correct. At the same time, Rian reviewed operational plans for the day. His desk was filled with reports from engineering, research, and communications teams. As he scanned the incoming data, he thought about the logistics officer who had reported his shuttle. Karen was diligent, precise, and determined. He recognized her potential. It was rare to see such care and initiative in someone so new to the base. He decided it was time to meet her again, this time in a more formal setting. Karen's first assignment that morning involved monitoring incoming supply rovers. She worked carefully, logging arrival times, checking vehicle maintenance reports, and coordinating docking with the landing pads. Even small delays could ripple into larger problems if not addressed. Her focus was strong, and she enjoyed the sense of responsibility. Meanwhile, Ryan moved through the command deck toward the briefing room. He wanted to speak with Karen personally, not just to review her actions but also to better understand her thought process. Leadership was about more than giving orders. It was about understanding and guiding people, helping them grow while maintaining the efficiency of the base. Karen was surprised when a message flashed across her console. "Officer Karen, please report to the briefing room. Commander Ryan wishes to speak with you regarding your recent report." Her pulse quickened. She quickly organized her notes and followed the directions. As she approached the briefing room, she noticed patrol officers and other personnel casting small glances her way. She felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. She had done her duty correctly, but she also knew that the situation had been unusual. When Karen entered the briefing room, she found Ryan already seated behind the table. The holographic displays in the room showed base activity, supply schedules, and personnel tracking. The commander's posture was relaxed but commanding, and his eyes showed curiosity rather than anger. "Officer Karen," he said calmly. "Please have a seat." Karen did so, keeping her tablet ready. She was still feeling embarrassed, but she reminded herself that she had followed procedure correctly. "I wanted to speak with you about yesterday's incident," Ryan continued. "Not to scold, but to understand your approach and perspective. You followed protocol, and that is important. However, I also want to help you learn how to balance rules with judgment." Karen nodded. "Yes, sir. I understand. I tried to follow the regulations exactly." Ryan leaned forward slightly. "Good, let's review the events. You saw the shuttle blocking the supply drive, correct?" "Yes, sir," Karen replied. "It was parked in a way that could have delayed supply rovers. I could not see the pilot, and it was not registered in the system. I reported it immediately to security." Ryan studied her face for a moment. "And you felt confident that your actions were correct?" Karen hesitated briefly, then nodded. "Yes, sir. I believed it was my responsibility to ensure the base functioned properly." "That is exactly why you are valuable," Ryan said. "You acted without hesitation, using the information available to you. That is an essential quality for anyone in a position of responsibility. Yet this situation also demonstrates something very human." Karen looked curious. "Sir?" Ryan smiled faintly. "Even careful observation can be limited by perspective. Rules alone do not always reveal the whole picture. The shuttle belonged to the commander, which made your report correct and incorrect at the same time. Correct because you followed the rules, and incorrect because the context changed the situation. Understanding both sides is critical." Karen absorbed his words. She had always followed procedures strictly. She had not thought about the context beyond what she observed. This was a lesson she would remember. Rian continued. "Leadership is not just about enforcing rules. It is about understanding people, predicting challenges, and helping others grow. You have potential for that. Today we will work on how to see both the rules and the context together." Karen straightened. "I am ready to learn, sir." "Excellent," Ryan said. "Let us begin with a simple exercise. Look at the incoming supply schedules for today. Notice the timing, the number of rovers, and the docking assignments. Predict potential conflicts and note what actions you would take if they occur. Then we will discuss your observations." Karen opened her tablet and began analyzing the schedules. She quickly noticed that 2 rovers were scheduled to arrive within minutes of each other at the same landing pad. She marked the potential conflict, noting which rover could be redirected or delayed without affecting the supply chain. She also checked maintenance logs for each rover to ensure that no vehicle would fail during docking. Rian watched silently as she worked. He was impressed by her focus and precision. Karen's thought process was methodical, and she was already applying lessons from the previous day. She understood that observation and preparation could prevent issues before they became problems. After a few minutes, Karen finished her analysis and turned to Ryan. "Sir, I have identified a possible scheduling conflict between rovers 4 and 7. I suggest delaying rover 7 by 10 minutes to allow smooth docking. Both vehicles are in good condition, but timing needs adjustment." Ryan nodded. "Good. Now consider the human factor. What if rover 4's operator is delayed due to personal preparation or communication issues?" Karen thought carefully. She realized that even with perfect schedules, unexpected human behavior could create challenges. "I would assign a secondary operator to monitor rover 4's progress and notify me immediately if there is a delay. That way rover 7 can adjust without disrupting overall operations." "Exactly," Rian said. "Humans are unpredictable, but humans are also capable of problem-solving, adaptation, and cooperation. A good leader anticipates both technical and human variables. This is what makes humans remarkable." Karen smiled, feeling proud but thoughtful. She had never considered leadership in such a broad way before. Following rules was important, but understanding people and systems together was equally critical. Rian continued to guide her through more scenarios over the morning. Each exercise was practical, related to real base operations. Karen learned to anticipate supply chain conflicts, human delays, communication errors, and minor technical malfunctions. She recorded her observations carefully, and Ryan provided feedback on her decision-making. By midday, Karen felt more confident. She understood that her mistake with the shuttle report had not been a failure. It was an opportunity to learn, grow, and apply her skills in new ways. She realized that following rules and using judgment were complementary, rather than opposing forces. Rian concluded the session with a final note. "Officer Karen, you have shown initiative, diligence, and the ability to learn quickly. Mistakes are part of the process. Correcting them and understanding the broader picture is what sets humans apart. The very fact that we can learn, adapt, and improve constantly is what makes humans special. Remember that. It is a lesson for life on this base and beyond." Karen felt a sense of pride. She had started the day feeling anxious about an unusual report. But now she understood that her actions had value. She had proven herself capable of thinking critically while following rules. She had earned the respect of her commander. After the meeting, Karen returned to her station. She updated her logs and prepared for the next wave of supply operations. She noticed subtle improvements in efficiency from her earlier adjustments. Minor delays were smoothed out, and coordination between teams was stronger. Her confidence grew as she realized that her work mattered and made a difference. Across the base, Ryan observed the smooth flow of operations. He reflected on human potential. Even a small incident, such as a report about a blocked driveway, could reveal qualities of initiative, problem-solving, and growth. Humans had the ability to turn small mistakes into lessons that improved the entire system. As the lunar day progressed, Karen became more comfortable interacting with other personnel. She shared advice on scheduling, vehicle monitoring, and supply coordination. She communicated clearly and calmly, guiding colleagues without asserting unnecessary authority. She had learned that leadership was about collaboration and understanding, not just rules and enforcement. By the end of the day, the base operations were running more smoothly than they had in weeks. Minor conflicts were resolved before they could escalate. Supplies were delivered efficiently. Personnel were aware of timing and responsibilities. Karen's careful observation and analysis had made a measurable difference. Rian watched from his office, smiling faintly. The morning sun rose gently over Lunar Outpost 12, casting long silver shadows across the base. The domes glistened in the soft light and the hum of generators filled the air. Humans moved across the surface with precision and purpose. Vehicles rolled along narrow paths, carrying supplies from one dome to another. The base was alive, a delicate balance of order, planning, and human effort. Karen arrived at her station early. She had spent the night reflecting on the lessons from Commander Ryan. Her mind was full of new ideas about how to manage supplies, communicate with other personnel, and anticipate problems before they occurred. She felt a quiet determination to continue learning, to improve not only herself but also the efficiency of the base. Her first task was to review the schedules of incoming and outgoing supply rovers. She carefully compared the expected arrival times, docking sequences, and maintenance logs. Every detail mattered. A single mistake could cause delays that might ripple through the operations of the entire base. She noticed that Rover 9 had a minor issue in its navigation system that could slow docking if not addressed. She flagged the problem and sent a report to the maintenance team, ensuring that the rover would be ready for its next trip. As she worked, Commander Ryan entered the control room. He walked slowly, observing the operations without interrupting. He liked to watch his team work before offering guidance. It allowed him to see not only the efficiency of their actions but also their decision-making process. Karen looked up when she noticed him. "Good morning, sir," she said, standing quickly. "Good morning, Officer Karen," Ryan replied, his voice calm but firm. "You have been busy." "I am reviewing the supply schedules, sir. I found a minor issue with Rover 9. I have flagged it for maintenance," she explained. Ryan nodded. "Good, that shows attention to detail. However, today I want to take your learning a step further. I want you to think about leadership and responsibility. Observation and rules are important, but understanding people and guiding them is equally essential." Karen felt a mix of curiosity and anticipation. She had learned much from Ryan already. But this was new territory. Leadership was not just about following rules or completing tasks. It was about making decisions that helped everyone succeed. Ryan led her to the observation dome. The dome offered a clear view of the entire base. Small rovers moved along paths, personnel walked in groups, and drones hovered to monitor operations. It was a perfect place to discuss leadership, as one could see the entire system at once. "Look at the base," Ryan said. "Everything functions because each person understands their role. But even with rules and schedules, challenges arise. Human behavior, unexpected events, and minor mistakes can disrupt operations. A good leader anticipates these issues and guides others to handle them effectively." Karen watched carefully. She noticed a rover adjusting its path to avoid a minor rock on the surface. A drone hovered briefly over a team transporting supplies to ensure safety. Everything seemed orderly, yet she realized that small actions kept the system running smoothly. Ryan continued, "Leadership is about observing, predicting, and supporting. It is about helping people make decisions, not just giving orders. The way humans adapt and work together is what makes us exceptional. Even small choices can have a significant impact." Karen thought about her own actions. Reporting the shuttle yesterday was correct, but she had acted without full context. She now understood that leadership required awareness, patience, and guidance. It was not only about rules, but also about seeing the bigger picture. Ryan gave her a small exercise. "I want you to oversee the docking of the next incoming supply convoy. Observe the team, anticipate potential issues, and assist them if needed. You will not give orders unless absolutely necessary, but your guidance can make a difference." Karen nodded. She felt a mix of excitement and responsibility. This was a real test of her understanding, not just theory. She moved to the docking area, her tablet ready to record observations and suggestions. The first rover of the convoy approached. Its navigation system had been checked, and the docking sequence was smooth. Karen observed closely. When a minor misalignment occurred due to a small gust of lunar dust, she calmly communicated to the rover operator to adjust by 1/2 meter. The adjustment was made quickly and docking succeeded. The second rover arrived shortly after. Karen noticed that 2 personnel were slightly out of position, preparing to unload supplies. She suggested a minor adjustment to their placement, ensuring they worked more efficiently and safely. The team followed her guidance, completing the task quickly. Ryan watched from a distance. Karen's approach was subtle, thoughtful, and effective. She did not assert authority unnecessarily. She guided through observation and suggestions, demonstrating understanding and foresight. This was true leadership in practice. The convoy continued, and Karen remained focused. Each rover, each team, each minor challenge was an opportunity to apply her learning. She recorded every decision, noting what worked and what could be improved. Her confidence grew as she realized the difference her guidance made. After the convoy was fully docked and supplies secured, Ryan approached Karen. "Well done," he said. "You observed, anticipated, and guided without overstepping. You allowed the team to act while providing support. That is exactly what I hoped you would demonstrate." Karen felt a sense of pride and satisfaction. "Thank you, sir. I tried to apply what you taught me about observation and context." "You did more than that," Ryan replied. "You showed initiative, patience, and understanding. You made the system function more smoothly. And that is the essence of leadership. Humans thrive because we can learn, adapt, and support one another." Karen reflected on his words. She realized that leadership was not about power or authority. It was about responsibility, insight, and the ability to see the bigger picture. Even small actions like guiding a team during docking could have significant effects. Ryan led her back to the control room. Leadership also involves mentoring and teaching. Helping others develop their skills is as important as performing your own tasks. The base operates smoothly not because of technology alone, but because humans understand, support, and learn from each other. Karen nodded. Understanding the depth of his lesson, she began to think about ways she could share her knowledge with her colleagues, helping them anticipate problems and make better decisions. She realized that her role was evolving. She was no longer only a logistics officer. She was becoming a contributor to the growth and efficiency of the entire base. Throughout the day, Karen applied her lessons in small but meaningful ways. She coordinated with maintenance teams to prepare rovers in advance. She guided personnel on supply handling, ensuring efficiency and safety. She monitored communication channels to prevent misunderstandings and delays. Every decision was deliberate, considerate, and aimed at supporting the team rather than asserting authority. Ryan observed quietly, noting how Karen had transformed her approach. She was learning quickly, not only following rules but understanding the reasoning behind them and applying insight to improve operations. Her actions reflected the human ability to adapt, learn, and excel. By the afternoon, the base operated more efficiently than it had in weeks. Minor issues were resolved before they became problems. Teams communicated effectively. Supplies moved smoothly from one module to another. Karen's careful attention and guidance had made a tangible difference. Ryan approached Karen again. "You have learned a valuable lesson," he said. "Humans are extraordinary not because we have technology, but because we can observe, understand, and improve. Leadership is about using knowledge and empathy to guide others, not simply enforcing rules. You demonstrated that today." Karen smiled, feeling proud and inspired. She realized that her journey was just beginning. There would be more challenges, more decisions, and more opportunities to apply her skills. She now understood the importance of awareness, guidance, and learning from each experience. The sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows across the gray lunar surface. The base remained alive with activity, a testament to human determination, ingenuity, and cooperation. Karen watched personnel moving efficiently, vehicles operating smoothly, and drones monitoring operations. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing she had contributed to this harmony. Commander Ryan stood beside her, observing the base quietly. "Even small lessons like today can make a large impact," he said. "Your work ensured smooth operations and helped develop your understanding of leadership. That is what humans do best. We learn, we adapt, and we support one another." Karen nodded. "I understand, sir. I will continue to apply these lessons in all that I do." "Good," Ryan replied. "Remember, the ability to combine rules, judgment, and guidance is what makes humans exceptional. Today you demonstrated that. Continue on this path, and you will become a great leader here at Lunar Outpost 12. As the day ended, Karen returned to her station to finalize reports and notes. She reflected on her progress and the guidance she had received. She realized that leadership was not about making the perfect decision every time, but about observing, learning, guiding, and improving. Even small actions could have a lasting impact. Ryan watched from his office as Karen continued her work. The lunar morning arrived with the soft glow of Earthlight reflecting across the base. Lunar Outpost 12 was alive with activity. Supply rovers moved in precise patterns, drones hovered above the domes, and personnel walked purposefully across the dusty surface. Humans had built order from chaos, turning an empty gray world into a functioning home. Karen arrived early at her station. She had grown more confident over the past few days, The lessons from Commander Ryan and her experience during the shuttle incident had transformed her approach. She now combined careful observation with thoughtful guidance. Today, however, a larger challenge awaited. Reports came in from the communications team. A series of minor malfunctions in the supply network had been detected. One rover had an outdated navigation patch. Another had a temporary fuel issue, and a third had a slight sensor glitch. Individually, these problems were minor. Together, they could cause delays across multiple supply chains if not addressed quickly. Karen took a deep breath. She remembered the lessons she had learned about observation, judgment, and leadership. She immediately began coordinating with maintenance teams, communication officers, and rover operators. Her voice was calm, her instructions precise, and her decisions thoughtful. Rian entered the control deck, moving quietly. He watched as Karen took charge. She monitored the affected rovers, adjusted docking schedules, and assigned personnel to check on each issue. Her calm demeanor helped the team remain focused despite the potential for disruption. Karen noticed a small discrepancy in the schedule. Rover 5 and Rover 7 were both approaching the same landing pad within minutes of each other. Rover 5's operator had reported a slight delay due to maintenance. Karen quickly adjusted Rover 7's arrival, instructing the operator to slow slightly and wait for clearance. The plan worked smoothly. Rian observed the coordination. He saw the application of lessons learned. Karen was not simply following rules. She was predicting outcomes, adapting to changing conditions, and guiding the team effectively. This was the essence of human problem-solving. As the day progressed, the minor malfunctions became more complex. Rover 3's sensor had a temporary glitch, causing it to deviate slightly from its path. Karen noticed the deviation early and communicated directly with the operator. She suggested a minor adjustment to the rover's course, preventing a collision with another vehicle and keeping the supply chain on track. Nearby, a team of personnel was unloading materials from another rover. Karen observed that two individuals were positioned in a way that slowed the process. She calmly suggested a small rearrangement. The team followed her advice, and the unloading proceeded efficiently. Ryan walked closer to her station. "Officer Karen," he said, "you are handling this situation exceptionally well. What you are demonstrating is more than procedure. You are showing initiative, adaptability, and leadership." Karen felt a sense of pride. "Thank you, sir. I am applying the lessons you taught me about observing, guiding, and understanding context." Ryan nodded. "Humans thrive because we learn from experience. Even small actions, like adjusting a rover's path or guiding personnel, contribute to the success of the entire base. That is why humans are remarkable. We adapt, improve, and work together." The day continued with small challenges. A communication delay caused one team to be unsure of a docking schedule. Karen immediately contacted the team, clarified instructions, and ensured the schedule was adjusted to prevent delay. A minor fuel leak was detected on Rover 6. She coordinated with maintenance personnel to resolve it quickly, avoiding a larger problem. By midday, the supply chain was back on track. Minor disruptions had been addressed before they could escalate. Karen's thoughtful guidance and careful observation had prevented delays, and personnel were working efficiently. Rian called her aside. "You have done well today, Officer Karen. Your ability to handle multiple challenges while maintaining calm and guiding others demonstrates what humans are capable of. You are learning the balance between rules, judgment, and leadership." Karen listened intently. "Thank you, sir. I understand now that leadership is not just about rules. It is about seeing the whole situation and helping others succeed." Ryan smiled. "Exactly. Humans achieve greatness not just because of technology or systems, but because of our ability to learn, adapt, and support each other. Each small action contributes to something larger." Later in the afternoon, a more unexpected challenge arose. A supply rover approaching the dome experienced an unexpected navigation error due to a minor software bug. The rover veered slightly off course, heading toward the maintenance area instead of the landing pad. Karen noticed the deviation immediately and acted. She contacted the rover operator and provided clear, calm instructions to correct the course. Simultaneously, she instructed nearby personnel to prepare for any adjustments if the rover approached too closely. Her quick thinking and calm leadership prevented a potential accident. Ryan watched the scene unfold. Karen's actions demonstrated what he had been teaching all along. She combined observation, prediction, and guidance in real time. She anticipated problems, communicated effectively, and ensured that the team worked smoothly. This was the essence of human capability. By late afternoon, the supply network was fully operational again. The minor glitches had been resolved, and the base functioned as efficiently as ever. Karen reviewed her logs, documenting each adjustment and the lessons learned. She felt a sense of accomplishment. Her actions had made a tangible difference. Ryan approached her once more. "Officer Karen, today you have demonstrated something important. Humans are remarkable not because we follow rules perfectly, but because we can think, adapt, and work together to overcome challenges. You applied your learning, guided others, and ensured the success of the base. That is leadership in action." Karen smiled. "Thank you, sir. I understand that even small actions can have a large impact when done thoughtfully and carefully." "Exactly," Ryan said. "That is why humans are extraordinary. We observe, we learn, we adapt, and we support one another. Lunar Outpost 12 thrives because of humans like you." As evening approached, the soft lunar sun cast long shadows across the gray surface. Personnel were returning to their quarters, drones completed their last rounds, and supply rovers were secured. The base was calm, orderly, and efficient. Karen reflected on the events of the day. She realized that her growth had been rapid. The lessons she had learned from the shuttle incident and from Ryan's guidance had transformed her approach. She understood that rules were important, but awareness, judgment, and guidance were equally essential. Her small actions had contributed to the success of the base. Ryan observed from his office. He thought about the journey of humans across the stars. Even on a distant moon, humans demonstrated ingenuity, resilience, and teamwork. The challenges were constant, but so was human capability. Every small action, every decision, and every adaptation contributed to the thriving of the community. Karen reviewed her final reports for the day. She summarized each incident, her response, and the outcomes. She noted lessons learned and suggestions for future improvements. Her confidence had grown, and she felt ready to face any new challenges. As she closed her tablet and looked out at the base, she realized the truth behind Ryan's words. Humans had the ability to transform even difficult situations into opportunities for growth, learning, and improvement. Lunar Outpost 12 was a testament to human spirit and ingenuity, and she was proud to be part of it. Ryan looked out of his office window at the shimmering lunar surface. He reflected on how humans had turned a barren rock into a thriving community. Technology, planning, and schedules were important, but it was the people who made the real difference. Every individual contributed, every action mattered, and together they created success where no one species could thrive alone. The base continued to hum with quiet energy. Supplies were secure, personnel were safe, and systems were monitored. Karen had proven herself capable, adaptable, and thoughtful. Her growth was a reflection of human potential. Ryan smiled to himself, knowing that the future of the base was secure because of officers like Karen. She had learned to combine observation, judgment, and leadership. She had taken small challenges and turned them into opportunities for improvement. That was what humans did best. As night approached, the pale Earthlight illuminated Lunar Outpost 12. The base glowed softly under the stars, a symbol of human achievement. Inside the dome, humans rested, prepared, and reflected. Even on a distant world, the human spirit thrived. Karen finally left her station, walking through the quiet corridors toward her quarters. She felt a deep satisfaction. She had faced challenges, learned lessons, and contributed to the efficiency of the base. She understood that humans, through diligence, cooperation, and thoughtful action, could overcome obstacles and achieve greatness. Ryan looked one last time at the base before turning back to his desk. Lunar Outpost 12 was a small outpost, in the vast universe, but it was a living testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and excellence. Every day, humans made a difference. Every action mattered. And even small incidents like a blocked shuttle or a minor software glitch revealed the extraordinary capability of the people who called this place home.